There are stories that thunder and crash, and then there are those that flow like a gentle stream, gathering depth and wisdom along their way. Today, we follow the stream. We follow the story of a man known for his kindness, his proverbs, and his love for a good cup of tea. But the gentle man we came to know was not born, he was forged. This is the life story of Iroh. Long before he was a wise uncle on a small rusty ship, he was crowned Prince Iroh, firstborn son of Fire Lord Azulon and the celebrated heir to the throne. He was not a quiet man, but a force of nature, a fire-bending prodigy, a brilliant military strategist, and a charismatic leader. He was known across the four nations by a fearsome title, the Dragon of the West. This title was not just propaganda. In his youth, Iroh claimed to have faced and slain the last of the world's dragons, but this was a noble lie, the first great sign of the man he would become. In truth, he had sought out the last two dragons, Ron and Shan, the original masters of firebending. Instead of fighting them, he humbled himself and learned from them. He saw that fire was not just destruction, but life and energy. The dragons deemed him worthy, and in return, Iroh protected their secret for the rest of his life. He was a conqueror with the heart of a scholar. He had a loving wife, and together they had a son, Lu Ten. Iroh adored him. In his son, he saw the future of his nation and the continuation of his family line. He was a proud father, and it was for the glory of his nation and his family that he led the Fire Nation's army to the walls of the unconquerable city, Ba Sing Se. For 600 days, he commanded the siege. He was a relentless and powerful general, and in a historic feat of firebending, he successfully breached the outer wall, something no one had ever done before. Victory seemed inevitable. The city and the world was nearly his. And then, his world ended. On the front lines of the battle, his beloved son, Lu Ten, was killed. The news shattered Iroh. The fire within him, the fire that sought glory and conquest, was extinguished by an ocean of grief. The city no longer mattered. The war no longer mattered. The throne no longer mattered. He ended the siege and returned home, not as a hero, but as a broken man. His failure was a political catastrophe. While he was drowning in sorrow, his ambitious younger brother, Ozai, saw an opportunity. Ozai went to their father, Fire Lord Azulon, and argued that because Iroh has lost his only heir and abandoned his post, the royal line should pass to him. In the Fire Nation, this profound disrespect was a crime. Enraged, Azulon ordered Ozai to kill his own son, Zuko, to understand the pain of losing a firstborn. But Ozai's wife, Ursa, intervened, making a dark bargain to save Zuko, which resulted in Azulon's death and her own banishment. Ozai, manipulative and ruthless, ascended to the throne. Iroh lost his son, his purpose, and his birthright in one fell swoop. The Dragon of the West was gone, replaced by a man adrift in his own sadness. In the years that followed, he retired from public life. He was seen as a failure, a disgrace, a lazy old man who had lost his fire. But it was in this quiet darkness that Iroh began a different kind of journey. He traveled, not to conquer lands, but to understand them. It is said that he even journeyed into the spirit world, searching for his lost son. He never found him, but he gained a deep spiritual wisdom that few humans ever possess. He learned about balance, about energy, and about the interconnectedness of all things. He also found a new purpose. He watched his nephew, Zuko, grow up under the cruel shadow of Ozai. He saw a boy who was not praised for his kindness, but punished for it. When Zuko was scarred and banished, Iroh made a choice. He would not let this lost boy suffer alone. He went with him into exile. For 3 years, Iroh was Zuko's constant companion. He tried to temper his rage with patience, his obsession with perspective, and his pain with endless cups of tea and games of paisho. He was teaching Zuko, but he was also healing himself. In guiding this lost prince, he was atoning for the sins of his past and the sins of his nation. He was a master of redirection, not just in combat, but in philosophy. He endured Zuko's anger, his disrespect, and his single-minded obsession, always offering a gentle course correction. He saw the good in Zuko long before Zuko could see it in himself. Even when Zuko betrayed him in Ba Sing Se, choosing a false promise of honor over the man who truly loved him, Iroh's heart did not harden. As he was led away in chains, his final words to his nephew were not of anger, but of sadness and fear. Fear that the boy he loved had lost his way. In a Fire Nation prison, Iroh did not crumble. He waited, he listened, and he trained. He transformed his body and his spirit, preparing for the moment he would be needed. When the time came, he broke out of his prison with the force of a one-man army, a quiet reminder that the Dragon of the West still lived. He did not seek revenge. He sought out the secret society he belonged to, the Order of the White Lotus, a group of masters from all 4 nations dedicated to philosophy, beauty, and truth. On the day of Sozin's Comet, while Aang faced Ozai, Iroh led the White Lotus to fulfill his own destiny. He returned to the city that represented his greatest failure and his deepest sorrow, Ba Sing Se. But this time, he came not as a conqueror, but as a liberator. He peacefully took the city back from the Fire Nation, correcting the great mistake of his past. After the war, Iroh did not ask for a title or a position of power. His only dream was to have his own tea shop. And so, the legendary general settled into a peaceful life in Ba Sing Se, serving tea at the Jasmine Dragon, surrounded by friends, music, and the simple joy he had fought so hard to find. The circle was complete. When his time in the physical world was over, Iroh made one last journey. He chose to leave his body behind and travel to the spirit world, where he made his home. There, he spends his days serving tea to any lost soul that happens to stumble upon him, continuing his life's work of offering warmth, wisdom, and a guiding light in the darkness. He became the very peace he had always sought to create.